Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kiran and I will host this afternoon. Today we're going to talk about how to prepare your WAN for the pandemic times with VMware SD-WAN by VeloCloud. And our guest speaker for this afternoon is Mr. Pankaj Jaiswal, who's a partner systems engineer from VMware. And today we will have a session from Mr. Blesson Matthew, who's a business leader for VMware business at NewWave Computing. And this session is scheduled around for 45 minutes, starting with Mr. Pankaj, followed by a session from Mr. Blesson. And so any issues in the audio or video, and we will be polling for questions during the session, and we request you to please send in your responses to help us keep the session lively. Now I would like to invite Mr. Pankaj to speak. Mr. Pankaj, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Kiran, for having me on the session here. And thank you to all the attendees who have joined the session. I believe everybody is staying safe and healthy at their place. Basically today, why we are into this webinar is to understand why should we look for a VMware SD-WAN as a solution for your current setup. Basically, if you see today, applications are hosted across the setup, right? Be it is a private cloud or a public cloud, right? And the users who are working remotely are trying to access the corporate applications, right? And if you see the traditional SD-WAN solution, which are more hardware centric, right, will not give you that kind of benefits in case if employee is joining and accessing the application from a remote location, and he is accessing a video, a corporate video, or a Skype call, right, or a Zoom call. The experience will not be seamless because all the traffic will flow through the data center and then it will go and connect to the public cloud. So the traditional hardware based SD-WAN solutions are not enough intelligent to understand the hub and spoke model in the network world, right? Because application is lying across the setup. So during the session, Blesson will explain you what are the different types of SD-WAN models offering from VMware VeloCloud, and he will explain you the use cases and the scenario. So basically, you will be able to understand how you can adopt this SD-WAN software-defined WAN technology in your setup and give a seamless access to your employees. So over to you, Blesson.
Thanks, Pankaj, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, everybody. I am Blesson T. Matthews. I am the business manager for security and virtualization business here at NewWave. I've been speaking to a lot of customers over the past few weeks, and they have been highlighting their challenges in delivering a smooth experience to their end users who are now working from home. So we thought let's have a session on how the business continuity can be maintained and the consumer experience of your end users maintained to the SD-WAN by VeloCloud. So what am I going to cover in this session is I am going to highlight what are the trends that I seeing both globally and in India. What challenges does this changing trend bring to your current setup? Then I will tell you what Gartner thinks about SD-WAN. Then an introduction to VMware VeloCloud, which is the topic of today. And I'll tell you what are the different components and what makes us stand out with all other 83 different competitors from an SD-WAN standpoint. Then I will show you certain demos of how simple and easy it is from a VeloCloud standpoint to manage business policies based on application, as well as a small walkthrough to the orchestrator. And then I will end the session with some closing thoughts, right? So just before we start the session, to get the sense of the audience today, I would request Kiran to run a few poll questions for you. Over to you, Kiran.
Sure, Blesson. Without wasting a minute, let me quickly start a first poll of the webinar. And the question reads, how many remote or branch office does your organization have today? Yes, I would request all the participants who have joined here to give their votes to this poll. Okay, so I'm going to close this poll in the next 5 seconds. So I'm going to show the results. I think close to about 85% of the customers who have joined have more than 25 remote or branch offices. Let's go to the second poll, and the second poll reads, are you running into bandwidth limitations that impact remote users? So I'll read the question again. Are you running into bandwidth limitations that impact remote users? Okay, I'll open this poll for another 5 seconds. Okay, I think so. It's almost like 40-60%. 40% of the customers who join are saying yes, they have certain bandwidth limitations. So you want to comment something on that, Blessing?
Yeah, kind of. It's good to hear that 60% of them do not face an issue. But through this webinar, I would also like to tell how you can enhance your experience. And the people who said that they are not able to deliver a good customer experience to their end user, this session would actually tell you how this can be achieved, right?
Right. So let us go to the last poll before we begin the session. And the poll reads this: are you adopting more cloud-based applications and services? Basically, it's SaaS or infrastructure as a service kind of applications. Right, so I'm going to open this poll for another next 5 seconds and then I'll close it. Okay, I think close to about 60% of them are saying yes, listen. So do you want to give you want to comment on this poll?
That's very interesting. So if 60% of you are using SaaS and IaaS as a platform, this is the right webinar to be at, because we will discuss how that is something that SD-WAN from VMware VeloCloud help you deliver a smoother experience to your end user. So thanks for that, for everybody who participated in the poll. Let's just jump into the session, right? During the COVID-19, because of the lockdown and different other scenarios where people wanted to be safe, the trend that has been seen across the world as well as India is that a lot of people are, almost 100% of the people are now working from home, 80 to 100% of the people. Usually the remote working force in any organization was between 20 to 30%. Now that's a shot up from to 80 to 100% working from home. Apart from that, what is an interesting trend that has been seen is there has been a lot of adoption of unified collaboration platforms like Zoom and Team. The number of people who are joining on Zoom calls or a Team call has increased by 6 or 7x. Right? That's a very interesting change. We always had those applications, but today the importance of that application has gone over the roof. It's almost 7-8 times of whatever earlier people were using it, right? And then one very interesting trend that we've seen is because of the lockdown and because of the restrictions of travel and transport of servers and things, a lot of people are now going and adopting infrastructure as a service on the cloud, right? And most of you who have joined, 60% of you have already confirmed that you're using some form of cloud in your organization today to run your organization. Now, these are the trends, but what are the challenges this trends brings in? Now, because the end users are now working from home and they have very limited bandwidth, they don't have the kind of bandwidth options that you have as an enterprise, and they are working from home. At least for some of your power users, you need to give them the QoS facility, which is the quality of service, so that they are able to be at their efficient best. Apart from that, because of the usage of a lot of unified collaboration tools like Teams and Zoom, there is a lot of bandwidth because of the video or the audio calls that people are doing. Now, how do we overcome that challenge is something that a lot of people across the world are trying to solve. And with your infrastructure on cloud, there needs to be a smoother access so that your developer or a programmer or somebody who's using a SaaS based application on the cloud has a smoother experience. Now let's look at how SD-WAN will help you overcome this challenge. So moving forward, let's understand what Gartner defines as the SD-WAN capability of the different SD-WAN vendors that you have. So Gartner defines an SD-WAN vendor to be transport independent, should be able to provide a secure overlay, should be able to dynamically select the path for traffic flow, and the interface has to be very simple. Now let's understand how VeloCloud fulfills all of this, what Gartner defines as the SD-WAN capabilities. So we are very transport independent, right? We create an overlay of different transport options that you have, like a broadband, an LTE, which is a 4G LTE, the broadband connections that you have like dongle, and MPLS, right? We support all of this forms of connectivity that you may have, right? And when 5G comes in, we will also be ready with 5G. Right? Now, from a secure overlay perspective, it is just not security of the infrastructure, but also security of the components that are involved in providing you an SD-WAN, which could be a data plane as well as the management plane. So every traffic that flows through different components in the data plane within the SD-WAN, VeloCloud SD-WAN, are through the IPsec route, and there is an encapsulation that is built over to provide you that security. And from a management plane, we are TLS and SSL certified. So whatever traffic flows through the different components within the SD-WAN, they are all done in a very secure fashion. So the security is taken care. The third thing, the dynamic path selection, is something like when you drive a car on your road and you use Google Maps, and the Google Map tells you that there is an accident down the road, so you should shift to the road that is nearby. Now this is something which is very unique, the way VeloCloud SD-WAN does it, and that's something that I'm covering in my further slides to take you deeper into how we stand out from every other vendor in the market. There are 83 vendors in this space, but we stand out from all the 83 of them, right? And then a simple interface, a simple common GUI to manage all your offices, be it your branch office or home office or your data center. Everything gets managed through a GUI, and it's a SaaS-based service, everything maintained by VMware, so there is no installation that needs to be done at your premises, and it's a very smooth and simple thing that you can look through, and it's easy to identify. And I have a demo for you towards the end of this slide to show you how simple it is to manage the orchestrator that is there on the VeloCloud. So moving forward, this is Gartner's definition, but where is VMware VeloCloud placed? From a VMware VeloCloud standpoint, this is the latest Gartner report. VMware is a leader, and it is the farthest in terms of the completeness of vision, in terms of giving SD-WAN as a solution to the market, and is the highest in the ability to execute its strategy. Now there are 83 different vendors, but VMware is farthest placed. So that is a reason why we are a leader in VMware as a SD-WAN as a technology, and this will enable or make your WAN infrastructure very simple to manage. Now let's look into what really is the unique factors that make VMware SD-WAN number one in the Gartner space, right? This is a very simple but a very powerful picture according to me. The reason being, if you see this picture, it's a small VeloCloud appliance, and you have the MPLS as well as the internet links going into the single box. In usual cases, these are different customer premise equipment that you have to have either at your branch or your head office. Apart from that, I want to draw your attention towards the capability of supporting a LTE kind of a functionality, a dongle kind of functionality. So there can be a different transport layers that you can plug into a simple box. That's the power of the VeloCloud Edge appliance, right? Now let's look into the different components that are there that make the part of VMware VeloCloud as a service. So we have three distinct components and very simple components that I would like to take you through, right? We have the VMware SD-WAN Edge appliance, just the picture that you show, just the picture that I showed you in the last slide. You can have the SD-WAN edge appliances maybe at your branch, today a home site or a mobile site, and you can also have the SD-WAN edge appliances in your data center. So there could be a bigger SD-WAN edge appliance at your data center and smaller boxes at your home or branch offices, if that is something that you want to deploy. Those are the first components of my SD-WAN solution. The second component, and a very unique component with respect to VMware VeloCloud, and we are the only vendor among the 83 vendors that you saw on the Gartner slide who is doing this. We are the only vendor who has our edge gateways in front of all the major public clouds as well as SaaS-based applications. We are the only one. There is nobody else who has an edge gateway sitting in front of the public cloud providers like AWS, Azure, or SaaS-based applications like Office 365, Zoom, or any other SaaS-based application that you are using, right? So this makes your unified collaboration tool or the access to those applications very simple, and that gives you a seamless experience. And the third component is the VMware SD-WAN orchestrator. This is a single GUI plane. It's a SaaS-based service that VMware offers to its customer. There is nothing that you have to install on-premise. It's a service that is given, and it's all maintained by VMware. And it becomes a single source of truth to see your branches, to see what your links are doing, how your links are performing, what are the applications getting used. All that detail is available through a single. Now let's deep dive into each of the unique features of VMware SD-WAN powered by the VeloCloud device. The one thing that stands out for us in the way we do the dynamic multipath optimization, that's something which is unique to us. And I'll tell you what the uniqueness is all about. We do a deep application recognition. So we can identify by default 3,500 plus applications, and we can set priorities based on each of these applications. Those applications could be Office 365, could be applications like Zoom, could be applications like Salesforce, could be applications like Box, applications that are voice driven, applications that are video. All of that we are able to automatically recognize, also give you the preference on what needs to be their score or the quality score that has to be defined on this per application list. Then we use all the paths that are available. If you look at the edge appliance that I showed you, all different kinds of connectivity you can use. It could be a private MPLS, it could be an internet lease line that you're using, or a broadband connection, or a 4G LTE. We give you a secure overlay of different network options that you have. Then the third thing that we do is we constantly monitor all the links that are available to us and check for three things: the packet loss, the jitter, and the latency at all times, to see how each of this link is performing and is it able to meet the application quality score that you have set. Right now, the unique factor that differentiates us from anybody else is in the market is the application steering that we do. We do a per packet per application steering. I would want to repeat this. We do a per packet per application steering. Every other vendor that you saw on the Gartner slide either does a link load balancing or does a flow based control, but nobody does a per packet per application steering. And I'll tell you what is the advantage of doing the application steering on a per packet basis and how it encourages you to utilize all the links that is available. Apart from that, we also, since we look into each of these links and their quality, and if you only have a single link or you have multiple links but there is a lot of packet loss or latency, we also do a on-demand remediation of those links through a forward error correction and the parity package that we can put in as techniques, so that the experience at the end user level and the application performance doesn't get affected. Now, what is very unique to us is the application steering, which is a per packet application steering that we do. Now let's look into the example of what does a per packet application steering actually mean, right? Now, this is an example of a voice kind of traffic going over two links for this customer. This customer has an MPLS private link and he has a broadband cable. And at all times, we are looking for the links for three things. One is the latency, one is the jitter, and the other is the packet loss. The green color indicates that the connectivity is good and there is everything is going good on the link. The red indicates that there is a lot of packet loss or a jitter or latency on the link and that needs to be corrected. And the almost a gray kind of a color means there was a disconnection. Now, if you look at carefully at this particular picture, at particular time between 5:40 till 6 o'clock, the MPLS connectivity was not there, as well as the broadband cable was the broadband cable's performance was very, very low. But because of the VMware SD-WAN capabilities of doing a link correction as well as doing multipathing, that is per application steering, per packet, per application steering, we are able to deliver excellent result for the end user. Now let me take it a little further. What happens at this particular thing that we do, which is the per application, per packet steering, is that we steer the application on all the available links. You may have a preferred link, but we will make sure that the quality score that you have set for the application is met. Now, if you look at the right side of your screen, both these links from a quality score perspective is less than 8. But the overall quality score that VeloCloud, because of its per packet application steering, that it is able to deliver almost a 9.96 mean quality score. Usually a mean quality score of 8 is regarded as a very good type of link. Here I am able to deliver 9.96 irrespective of what is happening on the link. And that's the magic, and that's something that differentiates us from all the other 83 vendors, because we do a per packet, per application steering, right? Now, what about a video call, right? The video and the voice call is the most latency sensitive applications that you would have. This is something that is delivered over a WAN link, which has a 2% packet loss. Now, if you look at the left side of the screen, without the VeloCloud SD-WAN, it's not very clear. It's a very crumbled or a very jittery kind of a video experience you're getting. But with the same link and with the VeloCloud SD-WAN, you are able to give a much clearer and a much better experience, both to your end users as well as your end customers. That's the VeloCloud difference, and that's what per packet application steering is able to do for you. So that is the first unique thing that we have compared to 83 other vendors. The way we do application steering, we do a per packet, per application steering. Now, moving forward, what is the next thing that differentiates us from all other vendors on the Gartner quadrant is the number of gateways that we have in front of the public cloud as well as SaaS-based application. Since 60% of you are using infrastructure as a service or a SaaS as a service, we have gateways in front of majority of or almost all of the SaaS-based application as well as public cloud. It gives you a smoother access to the infrastructure that you're running on this cloud. Whereas any other vendor, what he has to do is he has to hop off the network, go on to terminate somewhere and then go to the cloud, which could be giving a very differentiated user experience. It's not quicker, but with us, we give you the shortest path to reach to your destination. Now, how does that help? Now, you may have applications which are running out of your data center. So the edge appliance can talk to the edge appliance on your data center and create a secure tunnel to access applications which are running in your private data center. But infrastructure as a service and the applications that are running on Azure or AWS, you can directly go from the branch to this particular infrastructure as a service because we have the cloud gateway set up. So you directly go from the edge to the gateway straight to access your infrastructure as a service. And the same thing if you are accessing SaaS-based application like Office 365 or Salesforce. This is the second unique factor which makes us a leader on the Gartner quadrant. It's a smooth cloud access that we are able to deliver to our end users, because that is what people are struggling. As you saw on the trends, there's a lot of unified collaboration as a service that is getting used. How do I deliver a very good experience to my end user is by having something like this. And that's why this is the uniqueness that VMware SD-WAN VeloCloud is bringing to you, right? Now let's look at what is something that makes us unique from everybody else is the orchestrator. It's a single pane of glass through which you can view the complete health of different branch offices that you have, different connections that you have, how the quality of your links on each of these branches are, and what are the top applications you are able to see. So everything on a single screen you are able to monitor. So if there is a problem in a specific branch, it's very easy. Go to the orchestrator and see what is the problem, and you can troubleshoot them easily using the orchestrator. It's one single play. It's a software as it is a SaaS based model that is given. VMware manages everything. Nothing has to be implemented on premise for you. But this is something that VMware SD-WAN orchestrator is able to deliver, which is the third unique thing that we are able to do from a SD-WAN capability standpoint, right? Moving forward, we also do from an SD-WAN capability standpoint, we do everything on an application level. The policies are set on a per application level, right? We can set the priorities as high, normal, low based on the application, right? Based on the application, we were going to set our business policy rules. We can set different network services. Direct is wherein you really want a dedicated line for certain applications, right? Multipath is using all the applications that are there and you can use everything. And the internet backhaul is going back to an application that is running in your data center. From a link steering standpoint, we will you can choose about whether the application has to go over a preferred link, and it will make sure through the per packet per application steering that whatever rule that you set or whatever the quality score you want to define for an application, it is met, right? And that is the difference from a SD-WAN to a legacy WAN. The software defined WAN is more about your application, because at the end of the day, you are trying to deliver a smoother experience of your applications to your end users. Now, from a security standpoint, what do I have? There are a plethora of options that are available from a VMware SD-WAN capability standpoint. The SD-WAN Edge appliance is built with a built-in firewall, but it's a static firewall. For small branches where you cannot afford to have firewalls at each location, there's a stateful firewall that is built within the box and that can be used. If you want to use a virtual form factor of a firewall, either from Fortinet or from Checkpoint or Palo Alto networks, that is also possible, where through a service chaining capability, we are able to introduce a virtual form factor of a firewall. If you want to have a centralized firewall, this is especially for applications that are running on your data center, a legacy data center, where you have certain applications which are which has to be secure. We can work along with the data center firewall that you have. We can place it in parallel, and that is something that is also possible. And then we have a secure web gateway integration. So if you want to have a service chaining capability to secure products that are there on the cloud from Fortinet or from Zscaler or from Forcepoint, that is also possible because we have a service chaining capability with all this solution. So security is provided from a VeloCloud, VMware SD-WAN VeloCloud perspective. And one thing that states us very unique from all other vendors, and this is our uniqueness number 4, is that we are PCI DSS certified. One of the earliest vendors from an SD-WAN capability standpoint who was certified on PCI DSS. If you can see the date, it was November 13, 2017. From then on, we are PCI DSS certified, which is the uniqueness number 4 from a perspective of the SD-WAN. 83 other vendors. Why should I look at VeloCloud? This is the uniqueness number 4, why you should look at VeloCloud. Now, from a zero-touch provisioning, you would be thinking all these features are great, but how simple is it to deploy? And the answer is very simple, right? So you get an edge appliance, the administrator generates a key, and the box is shipped to the specific branch office, and an email is sent to the user who is at the branch office. The installer at the branch can open the SD-WAN Edge appliance, which more or less looks like a router, and connect all the links that are available, right? And once he puts in the link, he can activate the box by clicking on the email that you send. That's as simple as that. Now, at this changing times as this pandemic and the corona fear, zero touch provisioning has taken a very important thing for a lot of customers. This is as simple as that. You get delivered to your office or a remote location where your user is, and then it can be powered on. He puts in his links, clicks on the email, and the box is activated, and you can manage them from a single orchestrator, right? So that is as simple as it from a provisioning standpoint. Now, what are the different models that are available? How do I start? Where do I start? From a VMware SD-WAN VeloCloud Edge appliance standpoint, we have appliances that range from 30 Mbps up to multi-gigabit. It depends on the bandwidth connections you have. We have a small calculation that we do. We take the upstream, downstream, multiply by 70% of the utilization for us to arrive at what you need, right? So if you have 100 Mbps upstream and 100 Mbps downstream, it is 200 Mbps. Into 70% of it, you need a box which can support about 140 Mbps. So an Edge 520 would do. So something like that. That's how we figure out and give you the box that is desired. And this is something that we can work with you in terms of choosing the right box from a VeloCloud perspective. Now, what did your usual WAN infrastructure look like without a VeloCloud SD-WAN solution? Like Pankaj was telling in his opening slide, it was very hardware driven. For every kind of a connectivity, you needed to have different customer premise equipment. They were difficult to manage because they had separate CLI screens that you had to log in, and they were expensive too because MPLS is at least 3-4 times costlier than your normal broadband or an ILL. Now, what did SD-WAN help you achieve? SD-WAN helped you aggregate all the links that you had. You had a single, instead of having multiple customer premise equipment, now you have a single appliance on which you can put your different connectivity. I am able to do a per packet application steering. Hence, everything is defined on an application priority, and the business performance and business policy is the first thing that I do, right? I'm able to provide security through service insertion and different forms. And I am able to provide smoother access to your cloud-based applications or cloud gateways or your infrastructure services because of the cloud gateways that I have. That makes it very simple, and you have a single orchestrator to manage all of this. So VeloCloud SD-WAN solution typically solves all the challenges that you had with your infrastructure that you were running today. And with the increase of in the lockdown periods and different states following different things, this is something that a lot of organizations today want in their infrastructure. Moving on, what makes VeloCloud a success? In 2019 is when VMware took over VeloCloud as a company. We are present in 70 plus countries. We have 50,000 plus sites where we have deployed it. 100 plus customers, a lot of tier 1 and tier 2 service providers are using SD-WAN capability through VMware VeloCloud, right? And that's a very unique thing to us. And that's why we are in the Gartner's quadrant. If you look at this customer slide, there are all kinds of customers, retail customers, hospital customers, customers who are mid-enterprise. We also have a customer who is an NGO, right? So there are different sets of customers and tier 1 and tier 2 service providers who are using VMware VeloCloud to get that SD-WAN functionality, which makes us the leader in Gartner quadrant. And that's the uniqueness number 5, right? So since we've heard a lot about SD-WAN, I want to end this session with few demos that I've lined up, which I've captured from my lab, right? So the first demo is from a VeloCloud on a voice kind of a traffic. What do we do? How do we ensure that the quality score that you have defined is met and we give a smoother user experience? So this is my lab in which this is the orchestrator, and it is the branch 2 where I am going to show you this. So what I do is that I go to branch 2, wherein I'm going to set the policy for my voice traffic, right? So let me go and click on the branch 2, right? And I set a business policy. There are different business policies that you can set here. From a collaboration standpoint, that's where the voice traffic comes in. I define it, right? I define it on a per application. So What do I get to choose from here? I choose the priority as high, and I want to do a per packet application steering on the different links that are available, right? So that is why I choose multipath, right? Then I have a transport group where I can put a preferred link is the MPLS link that I have. I want the voice traffic to go to the preferred link. And I also check on the box of steering, error correction. If there is any error like packet loss or packet drop, I need it to be done on this line before it moves. And then I have put service class as real time, transactional bug. These are the three things that you get to choose from. Real time is your voice traffic or video traffic or your unified collaboration that we define as real time. Transactional is more like your CRM application or your SaaS based application that's run on the cloud. And bulk is like your some file uploader like blocks or some emails that is defined as a bulk application, right? Now moving forward, let's save these changes. Now what do you look at this screen is that I have two connectivities at this branch. There is an MPLS connectivity and there is a Comcast cable, right? And the green indicates that both of them have a connectivity back to my head office as well as the cloud gateway, right? And if you carefully look at this, I have a 0% packet loss on both the sides. Now let's initiate a call and see what happens, right? So I have initiated the call and then I will start live monitoring, right? Now if you look at the live monitoring, what all can I see? This is the throughput that is defined on my voice traffic, which we did define on the business policy. There is an upstream and a downstream for the MPLS line that I can see. And there is an upstream and a downstream for the Comcast cable that I'm seeing. Now, if you remember, we set the policy that the voice traffic has to go through my preferred line, which was the MPLS line. So the upstream and the downstream traffic currently for the voice application is going through the MPLS link, right? So moving forward, now let me induce a packet loss to see what happens if I induce a packet loss here. So I go on, create a 3% packet loss on my upstream, and I do the same on my downstream as well. So I create a 3% packet loss. Now, once I do a 3% packet loss, you see this? As soon as this 3% packet loss is induced, the voice traffic has switched over to the Comcast cable without you having to do anything, both from upstream as well as a downstream scenario. From the upstream as well as the downstream, as soon as the packet drop is induced, I am able to switch over to the next best available link so that I am able to make or maintain the application score that you would have set. That is something magical. This is a per packet application steering that VeloCloud is able to do. In real time, you didn't have to do anything. As soon as the packet loss happened, it gets switched over both from a downstream and an upstream perspective from the MPLS line to the Comcast cable. Right? Now what we will do is we will try to induce the packet loss on both the links and then see what is the VeloCloud able to do if I do that. So what I will do is I will go again, choose my Comcast cable and put the setting of 3% both on upstream and downstream again, right? And see what happens, right? Now, if you look at this carefully, as soon as a packet loss is there, the traffic has shifted both to the MPLS as well as Comcast. I am using both the links, aggregating both the links and using both the links to maintain the score. So the traffic now travels through the link on a per packet basis on the link that is able to meet that score. So that is something very magical. Even though there is packet drop on both these connections, I am able to smoothly deliver the quality score that was defined for my voice traffic, both on the MPLS as well as on the Comcast. So that's from a voice perspective that I was able to show you this, right? Now, let's go on. Now you would be thinking, what about a SaaS-based application? How do you do something like a SaaS-based application? So we took Box as the application, and wanted to see what happens when I define a particular priority on a SaaS based application. Right? Now what I do is I choose box as the product, and the application is box. That's what I'm going to define. It's a high priority application for me. Internet multipath is what I'm going to choose. But here I'm going to choose the preferred link as my Comcast cable, not my MPLS link, because it's a bulk kind of uploading that I'm going to do. And that's the reason why I want to choose my, I have chosen in this particular example, the Comcast cable, right? Once I set all of this, what I do is I do a preferred this thing. I choose bulk as the option because I'm going to do a file upload, and I click on OK. Right. Once you have defined all of this based on the SaaS based application, I save the changes because the policies have to be changed. Right. Now what you see on this particular link is that I have both these links again, and I do a live monitoring to see how my different application, both the Comcast and the MPLS is performing. Now let's start upload process on box. I go on the files. I want to put the market guide of VeloCloud up on this box. I have started it. Now let's switch the screen to see what is happening. Now if you see here, my preferred link was the Comcast cable. The uploading of this file is now happening to the Comcast cable, right? Because that is my preferred link. Now what I will do is I would want, like I'm very naughty and I want to do a packet loss. So I go and induce a packet loss on this particular link, right, and see what happens, right? If you look at the screen carefully, there is a packet loss induced. There is a packet loss. Earlier it was 0, 0, 0, but now a packet loss has been induced. It's a 2% packet loss that I have induced on the Comcast cable. Now what happens to my box application? Because of my per packet application steering, now I steer the application through the MPLS. So I am able to meet the quality score that you define on my box based application using both the links. Here I am doing aggregation of the links and using both the links so that you are able to deliver the application. That's something very amazing, and that's the reason by VeloCloud, because box application, I am talking to a cloud gateway, smoother access, and that's the reason we are number 1 on the Gartner quadrant and much above all the other 83 vendors who are there on the same space. Now you would be thinking, all this is okay. This is on a 2 linked scenario. What happens if I only have a single link? Are you still able to spin up some magic for me if I have a single link? Right? Now I take the same box example, and what I have done is I have disconnected the MPLS link completely, and I'm going to run this demo only on my preferred link, which was the Comcast cable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to induce a 2% packet loss even on the cable that is there.
Listen, we are losing you. Can you repeat the last 10 seconds again?
I am going to put a 2% packet loss, right, on the single link that I have. So I have removed the MPLS as a connectivity. I'm just going to do this on my Comcast cable, and I've already induced a 2% packet loss on that. So there is a packet loss on only single available link that I have. So let's look at what VeloCloud can do for me. What is the magic that VeloCloud is able to spin up for me, right? So if you look at this diagram carefully, you see the MPLS connectivity is showing gray. That means it is disconnected. And the Comcast cable is the only cable that is available. And there is packet loss on the Comcast cable. Okay, so there is only one link that is available to you, and there is packet loss on the link. So let's see what VeloCloud does for me on the same box application that I was running, right? Is it able to provide a throughput? And the answer is yes. On the Comcast cable, right? If you look at this, I'm able to derive the same throughput that I was able to derive with 2 links. That's because of the forward error correction and different other techniques that we use. And if you look at the left side of the screen, because there is disconnection, there is nothing going on the MPLS, everything on the uploading of the file is happening through the Comcast cable. Now that is magical, right? Even on a single link, through the forward error correction as well as parity, I am able to derive the assured performance that I'm assuring you on the links. Right? Now, all this is fine. Now, how does my orchestrator look? What is the different kind of information that I can get from my orchestrator is the last demo that I want to show you. Right? So what do you see on the orchestrator is the different kinds of connectivity you have. The VPN status is regarded to your edge appliance which is running out of your data center. You have a data center application. So that connectivity, and the cloud status is basically the connectivity to the cloud gateway that I have set up in front of the different infrastructure as a service provider as well as SaaS based applications. Right? So that is something that I am able to see as an overview. Apart from that, what all can I see? I can go to the QoE, right, and see what is happening, and I can put it on a live monitoring mode, right? In the QoE, what happens? Okay, 1 minute. In the QoE, I want to show you the link performance on the different links that I have, right? What are the links? How are the links going? What is the packet loss, jitter, latency on a per link basis is something that you are able to see. And this is just not for one location. You can see it across multiple other locations that you have. So I can see if my link is down, or there's a lot of latency or drop, or there is a disconnection of the link. So all of that I am able to monitor through the QoE. Apart from that, I can look at the transport where I will start the live monitoring. And what I can look at in terms of the transport is I can look at the packet loss, latency and jitter on each of these links over a defined or set period of time, and also the throughput that I am able to derive from each of these links. So that's what I'm able to see through the transport window. Right? From an application standpoint, right, what am I able to see is that what are the different applications that I am using, right? And which is the particular link that is getting used more at a particular location, right? Here it is YouTube, it's going over a public wired connection like the Comcast cable, and the top device with the IP address as well as the OS can be defined, and the top destination, where is it going? It's going to bloomnet.com. So all of that from an application perspective, you are able to see. So you are able to see which is the link that is getting utilized, which is the device which is utilizing it the more, and what are the top destinations. All of this is something that you are able to see from an application perspective. Same way, once you see the application perspective, right? What else can you see is you can see the sources. What is the different source? Like I want to see this particular device, and what is the top application on that particular device is something that I want to see, right? So on that particular source, YouTube is the top application. After that, Google Safe browsing, and the top destination, the IP address by domain can be captured, right? So this is from a perspective of a sender, right? From a user machine, what is he browsing most? You can look into each of them. And the same thing can be derived from a destination perspective. What is the destination at which all these packets are directed, which is the device, what IP range, all of that can be seen through the destination. So from an orchestrator, you get a complete overview of your branches, how your connectivity is. If there is a problem, you have a single pane to troubleshoot, not having to look at different CLI screen, nothing complicated. And the best part of it, it is a SaaS-based service. The way it is upheld or how the orchestrator has to work, the uptime of the orchestrator, all of that is taken care by VMware. So you don't have to worry about it. That's something that is very specific from a VeloCloud standpoint, right? So why choose VMware SD-WAN? It's a Gartner's #1, right? But why do you choose as an individual or as an enterprise? Why should you choose VMware SD-WAN? The uniqueness #1 is I do an application steering, and the application steering that I do is different from any other vendor in the market. I do a per packet per application steering. It's not a flow control. It's not restricting an application on a single line. No, I use all the links that are available, and I make the best use of all the links available because of my per packet application steering. That uniqueness makes it different from any other vendor in the market. The second uniqueness I have is the cloud gateway. I have gateway set in front of all the infrastructure providers that you can think of: Google, AWS, Azure, all these famous providers of infrastructure, that is IaaS. Can in front of those cloud, I have my gateway set up so that you have a smoother access, and also different SaaS based application. It could be Box, it could be Zoom, it could be Teams, it could be Office 365, it could be anything, but those gateways are set up which gives you a smoother access to this application. That's the uniqueness number two, and that's the reason why we should choose VMware SD-WAN over any other provider. Uniqueness number three is the orchestrator, which is SaaS based, and it is a single source of truth to see how your branches are performing, how your links are performing, what your problems are, and how you can troubleshoot. Uniqueness number four is from the different security options that I can give from an appliance perspective and the secure overlay that I provide, as well as I am one of the few vendors from the SD-WAN market, the first vendor from the SD-WAN market to get certified for a PCI DSS. Right? So that is something that I am able to do uniquely. And the uniqueness number five is we are the SD-WAN leaders. We have 50,000 plus sites, 1,000 plus customers, and from an ability to execute and completeness of vision, even Gartner states us as the leader. These are the five unique things that I want you to carry away from this SD-WAN webinar that we are doing, of why looking at an SD-WAN from VMware is so profitable for you, for moving away from your existing WAN infrastructure to something which is more software defined. And that's it from me. Over to you, Kiran. Okay. So just before we end, I would want to introduce what NewWave is. We are a production solution. We are an edge core and a cloud company, right? We are based out of South. We are almost completed 20 years. We are 20 years young. And we offer product, solution, and services across all these three products, which is edge, core, and cloud. And why are we different from any other vendor that you would see is because of the different paths that we take. Because as an organization, you are in either one of this journey: a workforce transformation journey, a IT transformation journey, a security transformation journey, or a digital transformation journey. And today we spoke about the IT transformation journey or your WAN setup, right? But if you have solutions which needs to be enabling smoother access like a VDI or a workspace one, we are here to cater to those needs. If something related to your security, like your endpoint security, or in terms of providing network security, we are here to help you out. Or anything related to your digital transformation from a process automation standpoint, if you want to have a conversation, we are here to do that for you, right? And we are partnered with a lot of vendors. We are a principal partner with VMware, and we have our skills built in to help, right? Over to you, Kiran.
Hey, thanks, Blessing. That was a wonderful session from you. I think before we open up for a Q&A, we would like to take your feedback on today's webinar and how you want us to converse
Kiran,
with
if
you
you don't
further.
mind, just hold. Kiran, can
Right,
you hear
sir.
me? Yeah, just a couple, because there was a question that came in the Q&A window, which I just wanted to address. So I think a couple of clarifications, because I'm sure a lot of you all who have come on this call, you're wondering, how different is this from a link load balancer that I may already have, or I have things like Riverbed application accelerators already in the system. And in fact, one of the questions that came from one of the participants was, can we replace WAN optimizers like Riverbed with SD-WAN? And in the context of that, I just wanted to address a few things. So the first thing is, when we meet customers and we talk about the technology, they say we already have link load balancers in place. And I hope by the end of today's session, you're able to figure out a little bit of the difference between what is a link load balancer and the product that we are talking about, which is your VeloCloud SD-WAN, right? And link load balancer, I want to give you a use case. Remember, in a link load balancer, like Blessing spoke about, what a link load balancer would do is that he would take certain particular link paths for certain applications. For example, let's say if it's YouTube traffic, he would say YouTube traffic will travel on link number one, right? And as long as link number one is up and running, YouTube traffic is going to stick on link number one, right? Doesn't matter if link number two is heavily or not even utilized at all, right? And only when there's a problem of any issue on link number one will I then reestablish sessions and connections on link number two, right? Link number one, link two. That's really what a link load balancers do. That means an application is kind of stuck on the path of that link, irrespective whether there are better link paths available. He's going to stick that flow on that. That's a very flow based. Let me give you an example of where this had a problem with my customer. Customer was a healthcare call center, and they were running a voice, a software voice in the cloud as a service for all their call agents. And he had 2 into 300 Mbps links getting to the net, and I think they had 200 agents per flow per shift. And the problem that they were facing was that, especially in the month of December, January, was that they were having a number of call drops that were happening. And what the IT head was saying is that the problem, Ajit, from our perspective, is when a customer is talking to one of our agents, and the conversation goes on almost for 18 to 19 minutes, because it is a healthcare, so they're having to do a lot of back and forth questioning. And suddenly, in the 19th minute, the call drops because of a link issue. Yes, that customer is gone, and when the customer calls back in, she or he is actually rerouted to another call agent, and the whole process begins again. And he says, I have two issues therefore coming out of it. Number one is I'm not getting efficiency on the flow. A lot of you all who are on the call, if you're running a call center, you know the efficiencies that you want, number of calls being handled per agent, that drops. And second, I have a customer satisfaction issue on the other side. So when we went and looked a little bit into his infrastructure, we realized that he was running link load balancers, and he thought he had sorted out that problem by having dual links, right? So when we ran a POC, and exactly on the line of what Blessing showed on the second, I think, video of his, or the first video, which was the voice traffic, you can actually pull a cable out and the voice doesn't drop, right? He was completely sold actually when we did that. We, in fact, in a live session while the agent was on, it was in a test bed that we were doing it, obviously, not in production. We actually yanked one of the cables out straight away, and the call carried on, right? Very, very important. So when people come and talk to you about SD-WAN, and there are 83 vendors in this space, believe you, I mean, I was very surprised when we realized it, so many vendors. Don't get confused by, I'm also providing you WAN optimization. We can manage multiple links. You have to go a little deeper. And now hopefully at the end of this session, we'll realize, are you doing a per flow based kind of a WAN optimization, or are you doing a per packet steering? Going back to my example, if you had the YouTube traffic going on our VeloCloud box, and we had 2, 3, 4 links that were there, think of it I'm just probably stretching this example, but packet one would go through link number one, or packet one will continue to go through link number one. And moment there's a bit of a reduction in packet loss, jitter, or latency, the fourth or fifth packet of YouTube is flying off on link number two. It's not gone. The link has not failed, but it's not meeting the criteria you're setting for the application, right? And if the other links are idle, I will sell packet one on link one, the second packet on link two, the third packet on link three, and I'm able to assemble it back at the data center because I have a counterpart, appliance at the other end. And so therefore, what I'm going to do is that I'm actually utilizing, like Blessing said, all the links that I have. I'm not sticking flow-based YouTube on link number one right from morning to evening, even though the other two links are completely free. I don't do that. So please don't confuse an SD-WAN solution with a link load per flow balancing, per flow-based. So I would say flow-based per packet-based steering. I want you to take that back with you. That's why VeloCloud is actually number one on that part. Coming to the gentleman's question on application acceleration, Riverbed, etc. Now, Riverbed and all, they play in a slightly different space, right? And I think I would say that they were at one point great application accelerators when the traffic, 90% of the traffic, was fairly inbound, when it was basically corporate traffic that was branch to head office to branch, and actually it worked very well on optimizing some of the TCP/IP and the protocol inefficiencies, right? Now, today, if you realize what is the nature of the traffic going on, you probably have a blended mix, maybe 50-50 or 70-30, some of it going to cloud. And when I say cloud, in the cloud, we have to break it up again into two parts. One is that some of them have their own private cloud infrastructures on AWS or, Azure. And you have another cloud traffic that's going to, Salesforce, CRM, and a whole lot of SaaS applications there. At the same time, you have some of it going to head office. Now, God help you with those kind of appliances, application acceleration, which were very symmetric and used to work when the traffic flows were branch office to head office only. Today, Riverbed and things like that are trying to adapt some SaaS accelerators in the cloud because they've also realized if you have to place a head-end box at the other end in front of every cloud, SaaS-based applications, God help you, right? So what VeloCloud will do is not only accelerate traffic between head office to branch office, right? It will also accelerate your entire experience from your users running SaaS-based applications. And if you have your own sort of some of your workloads sitting in a virtual private cloud sitting either in AWS or Azure, it will accelerate there as well, right? So to answer the gentleman's question, if you replace it with a VeloCloud box, actually you get more than what you're actually being able to generate now from the Riverbed side. And the third thing that we've seen very recently is that in certain locations for some customers in India, some of their branch locations, or not even I would say branch, even for some of the corporate office locations in certain big cities, there is no MPLS connectivity available. Now, a lot of people are saying, is SD-WAN an MPLS killer? I don't think so. I think MPLS is still going to be available, but the question is, people are trying to reduce the bill that they have on their MPLS connections that connects their inter offices, and they're trying to augment that by adding a lot of normal broadband links that you and I use at home, like an Act and an Airtel. And if I can bundle that all up together, and somebody continues to give me enterprise class WAN performances, customers are finding that very, very useful in places where no MPLS is available, but broadband is available. So SD-WAN makes a beautiful way to get that office up on the network. In fact, we had a university here in Bangalore. They were setting up their campus in Kengeri. In Kengeri, there was no broadband wired connections available. So we actually used two dongles, one Idea and one Airtel dongle, to run their first, board meeting that they were having in that location back to all their offices, one in Bangalore, one in Delhi, one in Chennai. All of them were connected via SD-WAN boxes using the internet as a way to communicate, and they all had a fantastic solution. So MPLS, where you're struggling with MPLS connections, this is a great place. And the last part is that customers have realized that if I can not expand my MPLS pipe, but for a fraction of that cost, I can actually pump maybe 100, 200, 300 Mbps more into the internet. They are now beginning to do a lot of onboarding of a lot of other services that they never thought they could run on their network, right? So things like learning and development, online stuff. In fact, we had a hospital scenario where we were trying to do telemedicine long distance, right? And therefore, at the head end, they were able to actually wrap four broadband provider links together and have that telemedicine and for their doctors to actually work in. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. In summary, link load balancers is not SD-WAN. Application accelerators are not SD-WAN boxes. There are 83 vendors out there. Some of them will say it's free in the box. Buy my firewall, take the SD-WAN box free. Please look under the hood, because there are, at the top level, they all say they are cars. But when I open up the hood and I look at the engines, we urge you to look at that and keep in mind the fact that Blesson talked about 5 unique things from our side, and they're really, really unique, right? Number one is, like we said, the per packet steering capability. We are not flow based. We can be flow based also if you want, but we are not flow based. We want better than that. We are per packet application steering. Second part of it is that please remember we have set up the cloud gateways everywhere in the world in front of all cloud providers. So you will get an acceleration of any traffic that you want, and you can buy that license which you switch on, and that's just a license. You don't have to do anything else out of that. Third, our SD-WAN boxes are able to pick up close to 3,800 applications out of the box. That means the moment we switch it onto your network, you don't have to figure out which flow, which traffic is looking, what do I do with it. Automatically, I'm able to pop out and say O365, CRM, SAP. I can quickly tell you this is kind of, I'm just saying, a platinum, a gold, a silver, a bronze kind of traffic class that you want. I'm able to figure out close to 3,500 plus applications. A lot of others are able to do out of the box maybe 1,000 to 1,200, right? I think these are the main three things that you want to keep in mind, when you're comparing our solution to the others. So just my quick summary. I'm sorry I jumped in, but I saw the question and it kind of triggered my thought on that, right? So back to you, Kiran, to run the polls quickly.
Thanks so much, sir. I think before we close this webinar, I would like to just run 2 polls to take your feedback. So here's the first poll, and the poll reads, do you have a need for this solution in your organization? So I'll open this poll for another like 5-6 seconds. I would request all the participants to give their feedback on this. I think so. Before, I mean, since we are running out of time, we don't want to do a Q&A session. Any of my sales team gonna reach out to you one-on-one. If you have any queries, you can ask them. We'll be more than happy to address them. So I'm closing this poll now. So let's go for the last poll of the webinar, which is just a feedback on our webinar today, on our session today. Was this session a productive use of your time? Right, okay, I'm going to close this poll now in 3-4 seconds. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And also thank you so much, Pankaj, for joining us today and giving a quick introduction about NewWave and the technology. And also Blesson for such an insightful session. So, and also like to thank, of course, all the participants who have joined us today and made this webinar a successful one. So you will shortly receive an email thanking you. And you will have a small link to take a feedback or survey on today's webinar topic. So to take a few minutes and share your inputs there. And if you wish to access the recording of this webinar, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to share that link with you. Obviously, there will be a link in thank you email as well, where you can actually access the recording version too. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead, and thank you once again for your patient presence. Thanks, Blesson.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Blesson. Thank you, Ajit sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Pankaj.
Thank you, Pankaj.